Starfield is a game with a lot of guns. Most of them look awful or strange, or like they were designed by someone that has never seen a gun before. Bethesda does seem to have a track record of questionable gun design, so it's not that much of a shock that Starfield's guns are keeping up the tradition. I'm going to go through the base game's arsenal and examine each weapon, taking in all the quirks and oddities of each gun, guessing why they are the way they are, and trying to figure out how they function. Here you can see my makeshift range on my outpost on Space Utah, or Sputah, where I'll shoot each weapon so you can observe how they fire and reload. I'll probably give each gun an arbitrary ranking based on how shit it is. Alright, let's do this. At first glance, the AA-99 looks like a pretty generic sci-fi assault rifle. All of the parts of the gun are recognizable: stock, magazine, grip, sights, etc., and it doesn't seem too odd, but the devil is in the details. This is a good first gun to look at, as it's representative of many of the strange features of Starfield's guns. One of those is bulk. Look how chunky this thing is, especially the stock. Despite being a setting where combat in bulky spacesuits is common, very few of the guns seem designed to be fired comfortably while wearing them. Another feature is all of the greebles peppered all over the gun. Knobs and bumps and cables and bits and bobs cover this thing. Like, look at the bunch of cables going into the stock. Be prepared to see these on nearly every gun. Also, take note of the massive gap in the gun above the bolt. A perfect place for dirt, rocks, mud, sand, and other debris to enter the gun and gum it up. When you first fire the AA-99, it seems fine, and then you reload it. The barrel appears to have a heat sink that is covered by flaps that open when reloading. Each of these flaps is another point of failure and another thing to catch on branches. If the flap fails to open or breaks off, allowing dirt into the heat sink, will the gun start to malfunction, being unable to clear heat? Also, why do the flaps open backwards and vent heat towards the shooter? Overall, not the worst thing we're going to see, but 5 out of 10. The Beowulf is the first bullpup we're looking at, and it has a P90 style magazine on the top of the gun. All of the controls are clear, with ambidextrous mag release, fire selector, and charging handle. The gun does have this weird hollow in the stock and a bar connecting the grip to the stock. Both of these will be seen a lot in other guns too. I can't quite tell where the rounds enter the gun from the magazine. Also, I don't think the gun has an ejection port either. Now, before you rush to the comments to tell me that the gun fires caseless rounds, even caseless guns need a way of ejecting a round in case of a misfire or whatever other malfunction. In the Beowulf's case, I guess you just have to take the whole thing apart to clear it, so pray your ammo doesn't have issues. There's also a digital ammo display on the magazine, which feels like a way for the manufacturer to charge more for each mag. Just like the AA-99, the Beowulf seems okay until you reload it. I'll slow it down so you can see it better. First, you pull back the charging handle, the black top cover slides back while the magazine slides forward, then you remove the mag while the gold holder hinges upward. The new mag goes into the holder and you hammer it down. Finally, the mag slides back into place as the black top cover slides forward. Why the hell is this so complex? There are like 7 actions that take place to change a mag. Each one of those moving parts is yet another point of failure. Each one is a mechanical device that can break or get gummed up with dirt. If one of those fails, you can no longer put ammo into your gun and it might as well be a paperweight. What a stupid design. 4 out of 10. The first of Starfield's energy weapons I'll be looking at, the Big Bang looks more like a piece of lab equipment than a firearm. For the energy weapons, I'll go a little easier on the functionality and look more at the ergonomics practicality. The stock and grip look atrocious and very uncomfortable to use. There is no trigger guard, so careful not to drop it. There are a bunch of buttons all over the gun that are labeled random things like manual. There is a trigger, but also 2 buttons labeled fire on each side of the receiver, for lack of a better term. Three things of note. First is that the sights are tiny and nearly useless. You can barely see them. Second is that for some reason the digital display showing the ammo count disappeared after the first reload, and I can't imagine that's intentional. Third is that the battery is held inside of a pop-up tape deck, which is yet again another moving part that is a point of failure. This is an energy weapon. It could conceivably be solid state, having little to no moving parts other than like a trigger. The battery should not have to be stored in such a complicated way, just have it attached like a standard magazine. This thing looks uncomfortable to shoot, and the wonky display is a bit of an issue. 4 out of 10. The Breach Shotgun. This thing is a giant pile of shit. First off, it's fucking massive. Just look how cumbersome it is. Just look how many greebles are jutting off of it. There are these 2 massive bricks stapled on each side of the gun. The foregrip is enormous. There are 4 posts sticking out from the front end, perfect for getting snagged on things. There is some lower steel girder sticking out beneath the barrel for some reason, with a massive gap between it and the barrel. The height over bore of this gun is nuts, with the sight being like a mile above the barrel. How fucking heavy would this thing be? Playing devil's advocate, I guess it's future space age materials or something, because otherwise it looks like it would weigh 50 pounds. Based on the magazine, it's some sort of weird revolver system. Whoever designed this has clearly not seen a gun before. I like how these parts on the side of the gun reciprocate for no reason other than adding more moving parts and allowing another spot for dirt to fuck up the gun. Also, keep your fingers far away. I also enjoy how the ammo counter is down here on the side of the gun, while having a display just constantly informing you what type of ammo the gun takes right under the sight. Why not switch those positions? Now, this is going to be hard to show you. I'm having to clip the camera into the gun, but the top of the magazine cylinder is not aligned with the barrel. You can just see that the shell is slightly below where the barrel is. So yeah, good job, designer. You clearly didn't give a shit. 1 out of 10. The Bridger is what you get when you cowboy up a China Lake. It's a lever-action 40mm rocket launcher, and I like it. Now, there are some issues. It looks huge and heavy. Even if we give it the space-age, future, lightweight metal argument, the wooden stock and foregrip, plus the 4 rockets, would make this thing pretty hefty to wield. The other problems come up after seeing how it fires. The pointy-tipped rockets laying nose to end in the tube magazine causes some worry depending on how the rounds are ignited. Like if you drop this thing well loaded, could one of the rounds fire off and blow the gun up? It fires rocket ammo, but doesn't seem to have any way of letting out the exhaust gases. Another small thing is that when you run the lever, this cover slides down the track. The track looks like a great place for dirt and sand to get in and make it a pain to cycle this weapon. Despite these issues, I really like the way the Bridger looks, and the idea of a lever-action rocket launcher is fun, almost like a Fallout weapon. 8 out of 10. A double-barreled shotgun, but square. That's the Coachman. Yet another one of the cowboy-flavored weapons. It's huge, but that's not a surprise by now. The square barrels are a strange choice. I wonder if that would affect the ballistics? I want to point out that it has an ambidextrous safety on the side of the stock. On the right side, the letters F and S are clear, but on the left side, the letters are backwards. The designer clearly just mirrored the textures because they wanted to leave early that day. There's a weird bug where sometimes there's still a shell in the gun despite firing it twice, but otherwise there's not much to say. It's a double barrel, you put shells in it and pull the trigger. Kind of dull. 4 out of 10. Another assault rifle. This one is fine for the most part. It's got the problem of having greebles all over it, little nooks and crannies for no reason. Not as bad as the AA-99, but it's still there. The controls are clear and in sensible locations. The recessed barrel is a bit odd, would make it hard to put on any sort of muzzle device without an extension. The sights are fine, and I like the clear ammo display right below them, where it can be seen easily. Reasonable reload, mag out, new mag in, pullback charging handle. Cool. The strangest thing is the big LCD screen on the side of each magazine. There's even a cutout in the frame for it to be visible. When the mag starts to get low, a big flashing reload warning appears on the screen. This is really pointless. There is already a clean display that shows the ammo remaining and warns you when getting low. I again chalk this up to the manufacturer wanting to charge more for the magazines. This is an okay gun, brought down a point by the most redundant screen ever made. 7 out of 10. The first gun you get in the game, the Eon is almost pocket pistol sized. It's the most pistol-ass pistol in the game. The safety is an odd slide switch forward of the trigger. Beneath the muzzle is a battery pack that I assume powers the ammo display on the rear of the gun above the grip. There are these holes on either side of the gun that might be vents, ? Anyway, let's fire this little guy. The way you cock the Eon seems to be pushing down the top cover of the gun, like a weird variant of the squeeze cocking system from the HK P7. The sights on the gun are just awful. The front post is way too wide, making it hard to put on target. Like the Beowulf, there doesn't appear to be an easy way to extract a round from the chamber in case of a malfunction. The ammo counter is notable for how much it lags after reloading. If you're quick enough, you can be halfway through a mag before it starts showing the ammo count. Although I like the way it looks, it has more than a few issues that tarnish it. 4 out of 10. The box gun. Another energy weapon, the Equinox is probably the least ergonomic weapon in the game. Shouldering this thing is probably not very comfortable. For Starfield standards, it doesn't have too many greebles cluttering its design. It does have some quirks in design, like the pointless metal bars at the front and near the grip, but other than that, the controls are laid out fine. The battery pack acts as a handguard, kinda like a space-age PP-19 Bizon. Overall, I really like this gun. It's got a sleek design and looks like a fun little future laser gun. The reload is smooth and doesn't have any needless parts or motions. I like the battery charge display below the sight as well. This gun is one of the only guns in the game that defaults with an optic, not having iron sights. I'll give it a demerit for having a reciprocating element and a big hole in the front of the gun, but I still like it. It really reminds me of the Fallout 3/New Vegas laser rifle, both being laser shooting rectangles with triggers. This one is really cool. 9 out of 10. The shorter SMG variant of the Beowulf, the Grendel is pretty much a space P90 with the bullpup top-loading mag. It shares the Beowulf's random spaces and holes while also having its own bizarre addition of a shock absorber between the grip and the stock. And while the controls seem fine, the sights are not. The rear sights are very close to the front post and don't really serve a purpose. A blistering rate of fire, but no odd mechanical movements, until the reload. While not as complex as the Beowulf's reload, the Grendel still has the lifting angled mag slot and a pointless flap near the rear of the gun. More points of failure when you could have just copied the P90's magwell design. Better than the Beowulf, but not by much. 5 out of 10. The first sniper rifle I'm looking at, and it's a big old 50 cal bullpup at that. While it has a lot of greebles, there's not much that looks too terrible, but there's still a lot of little things. Simple slide safety on each side of the gun, ambidextrous charging handle too, but I can't find the magazine release. That's a bit of an issue. Unless it's supposed to be that tiny black button at the front of the trigger guard. There also looks like there's a tiny piece of mounting rail right where you'd rest your cheek. I'm not sure what you would put there or even how you would attach anything to it. Not much to say about this gun's shooting. It fires bullets, its reload looks logical, charging handle back, mag out, new one in, charging handle forward. It just works. 7 out of 10. A compact SMG, the Kodama has a neat color scheme and clear controls. The selector switch, mag release, and charging handle locations make sense and are laid out fine. Nice clean ammo display below the rear sight too. I don't understand why Bethesda's designers hate stocks on guns by default. They're pretty useful. What sticks out is this metal frame that wraps around the bottom of the gun. It looks like it would make it awkward to put a magazine in the gun, having to thread it between those metal rails. The way that the front looks and the hinges on the frame made me think that this was a folding stock, but when you go to the workbench, this is what the stock looks like, attaching to the socket on the back with the metal frame still there. Very odd design choice. The Kodama has a blistering rate of fire. It's hard to tap the trigger light enough to just squeeze one shot out, almost always firing two. Having to slide the mag between the rails looks annoying. Also, not sure why the front of the gun has to lift during reload. Seems pointless. Odd that the charging handle is never used during the reload. Weird metal rail and lifting front bring down a neat looking SMG. 6 out of 10. This thing looks more like a power tool than a gun, or like someone stuck a steel girder on top of a Glock. This is one of the weapons the Crimson Cringe uses and is covered with their edgy high schooler graffiti. Negative points immediately. This is one of the chunkiest pistols I've ever seen. It looks very top heavy. You could use it as a mace when you run out of ammo. It's a machine pistol with a high rate of fire. For some reason, when you drop the mag, the top of the gun pops up, exposing what looks like a heatsink. Bethesda loves having things pop up or slide or move around on guns needlessly. I don't like this one. 3 out of 10. Another one of the cowboy guns, the Lawgiver, is a long-range rifle. It's got a huge wood stock and a very smooth, rounded barrel. The gun also has a lack of markings. Other than the name of the gun and a model number, there are no markings for the ammo it takes or even any of the controls. In fact, I can't seem to see any controls. I can't tell where the mag release or safety or whatever is. There looks like there are little tabs or switches or buttons, but they are in just random spots on the gun without a label. But it gets worse. Watch the reload. On reload, the top cover slides back onto the stock, which is clearly incorrect as there is a track for it to run along in front of it. Now you could just say that the groove is there for looks, but watch the reload in third person. The cover slides forward. How the fuck did they mess this up? This game cost hundreds of millions of dollars and took years to make. How fucking lazy are they? Did no one double check this shit? Pathetic. 1 out of 10. The assault rifle of the Crimson Cringe looks like it's trying to rip off a 40k bolter and not get caught. Points for the clear ambidextrous controls, selector, mag release, and bolt release are all there. Negative points for the massive hole in the side of the gun. Like, does Bethesda know that you typically don't want big spaces and holes that let crap in to gunk up your gun? There's a jury-rigged laser sight and ammo counter that looks rough, but it does fit in with the pirate gun theme. As for reloading and firing, it's all pretty good. The reload is mag out, new mag in, hit the bolt release. Maybe one day Bethesda will add alternate animations for partials versus full reloads. The sights on the gun are clean and easy to use. Surprisingly, this gun is actually pretty good. 8 out of 10. So I've bunched these next weapons together as I hate them all. The mag weapons are a collection of guns that look like fucked up prototypes or construction equipment. They are held together with metal rails and all the internals of the gun are just exposed. Most have these stupid looking massive blue stocks and all of them reload from these strange orange magazines. The mag weapons are multi-barrel, either firing in sequence or like a shotgun. They feel like they're trying to be Dead Space weapons. The industrial look combined with the multiple laser sights screams copycat. But unlike the Dead Space weapons, which most of them are construction tools improvised as weapons, the mags are built as firearms first. Even though none of them look fit for that purpose, if you dropped any one of these guns, they would never fire again. They look so flimsy and fragile. You take a dive holding one of these, and it would take you a week's worth of cleaning to get it to fire again. If these were rare prototypes, that would excuse their look, but there's a shop in Neon that sells nothing but these guns. Everything about these guns suck. Some designer wanted Dead Space guns and made shallow copies because fuck it, why not? 1 out of 10. A revolver-style rocket launcher, the Negotiator is similar to the Breach in that it is covered in shit and fucking huge. There are pointless bits and bobs like the 2 bricks on either side of the barrel. There's a massive metal hood over the sights for no reason. Over the barrel is another barrel or buffer or something. Nonsense labels are plastered all over the gun. Warning! Level 7 warning. What the fuck does that mean? And the gun is radioactive too, I guess? I personally love the state of the art weapon frame. Is that a typo? What the fuck? After firing it, I noticed it shared another feature with the Breach. I don't have a shot of it, but the cylinder does not line up with either of the barrel-looking parts of the gun. How do you manage to do that? This confirms that both this and the Breach were designed by the same person, and that they were probably dropped on their head as a child, and probably also as an adult too. 1 out of 10. One of the plainest weapons in the game, the Novablast is like if Apple designed laser guns. It shockingly comes with a stock by default. Not sure why there's a hole in it, but I'll take it. Not much for controls. There are these lock buttons on the side, and I guess they might be the safeties. The lack of greebles covering the gun makes it quite refreshing. Overall, I like the look. Okay, so the iron sights suck. They are tiny, barely there, but the largest complaint once again comes from the wonky reload animation. Why does the gun need to pop open like that? So many moving parts for a gun that could be solid state. Another thing about the reload I noticed is that it looks very similar to the reload for the combat rifle in Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Could be a coincidence, but it definitely caught my eye. 5 out of 10. The pistol version of the Novablast, the Novalight, is nice and sleek and free from the random crap that covers so many of the other guns in this game. Having the same lock switch, I'm certain now that this is supposed to be the safety. The release button is tiny, but otherwise okay. Maybe this one won't have a bunch of dumb moving parts. God damn it. The whole top of the gun sliding forward is really odd, as it looks like the battery is in the grip like the magazine in a conventional pistol. Why does it need to slide forward? What purpose could that serve? Like it's a battery pack, you don't need to cock your TV remote when you put new AA's in it. Maybe the designer thought that you just have to have a slide on a pistol, or that it would be too boring of an animation if nothing moved. Yeah, I don't know. Also, the sights on this one are tiny too. 5 out of 10. Looking at the list of guns to cover, I just noticed I've neglected to mention the Microgun, so I'll cover it here very briefly. The Microgun is a weapon in Starfield. 3 out of 10. This is another bunch of weapons I'm going to group together. The old Earth weapons are guns from Earth before it melted. The pistol is a 1911, the assault rifle is an AK of some kind, the hunting rifle is a VSS, and the shotgun is an Ithaca Model 37. I don't have too much to say about these guns, except that I think they are lazy additions to the game. In Starfield, the exodus from Earth started in 2149, meaning that the youngest of these guns, the VSS, is 162 years old, and the oldest, the 1911, is 238 years old. This could have been a chance to add guns that were contemporary to 2149 to show off what technology was like then compared to the current time of the setting in 2330. It would have helped flesh out the world building a smidge, and could have been a neat lore point that those were the guns that made it off Earth. Although with how a lot of the other guns they made look, maybe it's for the better. Instead they just added what appears to be a random selection of guns from centuries prior. A 1911 because everyone knows what that is, and ma two world wars must stop in power. An AK without a stock because Bethesda hates stocks. At least the charging handle is on the right side this time. Good job, devs. The VSS sticks out as a really bizarre option, and why call it a hunting rifle? The pump on the Model 37 is too far back, and the pump animation looks like you're pumping it forward and then back very quickly. It's so sloppy. This is a mass-produced gun that's still made to this day. There are countless pictures and videos of this gun that you could have used as reference to make sure it doesn't look like shit, but I suppose that's too much to ask for from the billion-dollar company. These guns suck, and the devs can't even copy real guns correctly. 2 out of 10. Another massive hunk of shit covered in crap, but this time a laser gun. The Orion has 2 barrels, because fuck it. The sights are on this huge rail that goes over a gap in the gun. Why are these guns so large? I don't get it. While the reload animation is fine, the 2 barrels seem to just fire wildly, both lasers not hitting the same spot. It looks like it would be impossible to hit the same spot twice with this gun. For such a large gun, the sound it makes is anemic. Nail guns sound meaner than this thing. I like the touch of not being able to see the ammo counter while aiming the gun. That's the quality Bethesda design we all know and love. 3 out of 10. Looking at the Pacifier, the first thing I notice is how similar it looks to the Crusher from Cyberpunk 2077. Like copying homework similar. The main difference is the pump on the Pacifier. There's also a set of canted irons on the right side of the gun that you can't use. Thanks for that. Other than that, it is very much a copy of the Crusher. After seeing it shoot, I have to ask, why does it have a pump? It's semi-auto. It could just lock open on empty and just have a bolt release button. Instead, you have this weird pump forward on it because it could be like the Spaz 12 or Benelli M3, where it can switch between semi and pump based on the ammo it's firing. I think the designer probably just believes that shotguns have to have a pump. 4 out of 10. Visually, the Rattler is more of the same. Little knobs and other crap sprinkled on the side of it, a needless metal bar connecting the grip to the front. I think groups of guns were made by specific designers because this, the Lawgiver, and the Coachman share a lot of the same shitty design decisions. Okay, so the front cylinder bit is the magazine. Some sort of rotary magazine, I suppose. It makes me wonder where the chamber is. Where are the rounds loading into, and also how short is the barrel? It must only be like 2 or 3 inches. Very strange. Terrible sights, sounds like shit, 3 out of 10. Another gun that looks like it's from the mine that brought us the Rattler and Lawgiver. The Razorback is a gun you can never drop, because it will never fire again if you do. It looks so fragile, especially the cylinder. So it's a revolver that fires from the 6 o'clock position with a massive fuck off rail on top. The thing is fucking hideous. I don't know what's up with the rounds. They're not caseless rounds as they clearly leave a case behind. There doesn't seem to be a visual difference between fired and unfired rounds. The metal contact at the rear of the round makes me think this might be electrically fired. Coupled with the way the front of the round looks, it makes me think of the HK-P11, which is a gun designed to fire underwater. It has electronic firing and each round is sealed up. But why would you make a revolver for surface use have these features? I'm not sure. I think the designer just wanted to make quirky guns with no thought on how they could conceivably work in the universe. 2 out of 10. Another revolver, this time very different looking. At first glance, you might think this thing is a semi-auto, until you notice the cylinder. It's got a lot of greebles, tubes, and notches near the trigger. Not the worst we've seen, but yeesh. I like the addition of a questionably useful foregrip, a grip the player doesn't even use. Every time you fire, a cover on the back slides forward, exposing a heatsink. I don't get why so many of the guns have heatsinks. Why does this one need to be exposed every shot? On reloading, you replace the entire cylinder? Is this another manufacturer's scheme to get more money out of you? Disposable cylinders? I feel like this is just a way of making a simpler reload animation. Just pop out the cylinder and replace it. Easier than doing a round reload animation. 3 out of 10. The shotgun with the most creative name ever, the Shotty, is a compact little guy. Stockless with no clear way to add one is definitely a choice. Clear controls, but once again a random metal bar connecting the grip to the muzzle. This is an extreme bullpup, with the magazine and chamber located as far to the rear of the gun as possible. You're not going to be aiming with this thing anywhere close to your face with that reciprocating bolt flying back at you. This is an arm's length gun. I like the 2 huge charging handles. I feel like this might not be a comfortable gun to shoot with the lack of stock and the crazy kick it has. 5 out of 10. The Sidestar looks like they tried to make a futuristic Glock and gave up halfway. I can't find much to say about this gun other than it looks ugly. Bunch of shit all over. A clear hole in the gun where you can see the recoil spring. A square barrel. Does the designer think that because the caseless rounds are square, the bullet itself is also square? Yes, I know that the outside of a barrel can be a different shape, but here it's clearly a square barrel on the inside, so what the fuck, designer? Firing this gun is as boring as it looks. The most notable thing is that the sights are backwards. The front sight is on the back, and a fucked up looking double rear sight is at the front. Like, how the fuck do you design something like this? This is another example of a dev making something they think is quirky and neat, when in reality it looks really stupid. 2 out of 10. I think the Solstice is quite cute. The design looks like a cross between lab equipment and a weapon, like an advanced prototype. The fins/rails on the side are a little weird, don't really see a use for them. They look like they're there for aesthetics. Other than the trigger and what looks to be a mag release near the front, there are no other controls. I can't find a safety? Maybe it's a trigger safety. I'm not sure why the rear part needs to spin when firing. This is a laser gun, why does it need a rotating watch bezel around the ammo counter? This is one of the rare guns that has some form of optic as a default sight, which is a nice clear reflex sight. Good job, devs. My biggest issue is that the reload replaces the entire front of the gun. You swap out the battery and the laser optic, it looks like, which seems a bit overkill. But overall, I still like this gun. In general, the energy weapons are not as bad as the conventional guns. 7 out of 10. Here we are. This is the gun that inspired me to make this video in the first place. The Tombstone might be the worst designed gun in video game history. Just look at the thing. It's god-awful. It's covered in greebles. There's this hinge-looking part here. What the hell is that? There are 2 tumors sticking out the side of the gun. It has 2 foregrips connected by a metal bar, but it doesn't have a trigger guard. There are 2 tubes at the front beneath the barrel. Like, what the fuck was the design of this thing supposed to be? It's a bullpup, but I can't figure out how it works. The mag goes in at an angle here, so the rounds are, like, here. Where is the chamber of the gun? Here-ish? How do the rounds get from the mag to the chamber and then out of the barrel here? The person that designed this gun has no idea how guns work in the slightest. My favorite detail is where the safety switch is. It's there on the second foregrip, about as far away from the trigger as you could place it while still being on the gun. Fucking ridiculous. The sights are bad and the 2 tumors move while shooting and pop out while reloading. Is the gun like steam powered? It looks like a bad AI generated gun, just a bunch of random shit plastered into the vague shape of a firearm. I hate this thing. It's the worst gun in the game by far, 0 out of 10. I think this is Starfield's version of a big semi-auto like the Desert Eagle, if the name wasn't enough of a hint, but it just looks like a slightly less shitty version of the Sidestar. Big hole in the gun, random crap, what looks to be a tiny angled foregrip at the front, fucking whatever. The sights are crap, and watch your hands when firing this. This reciprocating part would give you some nice slide bite if you're not careful. I don't see what part the player racks back on the reload. There doesn't appear to be a slide on the gun. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it was just them reusing animations from other pistols because they were lazy. 3 out of 10. I don't have much to say about the Varun guns. They look like they are from another game entirely. Like they just took designs of hive guns from Destiny's cutting room floor and slapped them into Starfield. I think they look like shit and clash with everything else in the game. 2 out of 10. I have just as little to say about the XM as the Varun guns. It's a modernized 1911 with desert camo. They barely even tried to change it from the other 1911. Like, just fuck off at this point. 2 out of 10. And that's it. All of the base game guns from Starfield. Most of them are downright horrible. Clearly, many of the people that designed these guns have no idea the first thing about how guns work. I'm not expecting them to be experts, but a basic understanding would have gone a long way in helping them create more sensible guns. The energy weapons were, for the most part, not as bad. My favorite gun in the game was the Equinox, and I quite liked the Solstice too. When you have something that is more sci-fi like a laser gun, it's easier to hand-wave away quirks about the design. With conventional weapons, it's more difficult as most of the guns in Starfield are just normal guns firing caseless ammo. So when they break away from what's expected of how guns work, it makes them look so much worse. I think the single biggest thing plaguing the design of these guns is the greebles. The guns are just covered in so much shit and it makes them look so busy. During my playthrough of Starfield, picking up a new weapon was always a treat. I couldn't wait to see how terrible they would be. If there's one thing about Fallout 5 that I'll be looking forward to, it's to see how much worse the gun design will get. And with that, my third video on the subject, I'm done with Starfield. Thank God. It's a good thing that whatever I cover next could not possibly be as painfully awful as Starfield. Oh no.